Welcome, everyone, to the Pro Baseball Central podcast. This is Joe McDonald with you for the next few minutes, and we're going to be discussing a few things in the baseball world today, mainly the New York Mets general manager search and also the first two games of the World Series, which I was up there in Fenway Park with Rich Mancuso. But first things first, since this is more of a New York-centric website and a New York-centric program, let's discuss the New York Mets. So over the last week, the Mets had their second round of interviews. They have interviewed Brodie Van Wagenen, who is the super agent and an agent of players like Jacob deGrom and Yoenis Cespedes. They also interviewed Doug Melvin, who is the former GM of the Milwaukee Brewers and the Texas Rangers, and finally they interviewed Chaim, who is a senior vice president and an analytical guy down in with the Tampa Bay Rays. Yesterday, they made some cuts, and it looks like Melvin is not going to get the job. He is now out of consideration, leaving it down to the two choices of Van Wagenen and Chaim. And it's going to be very interesting to see what the Mets decide. I can understand why Melvin either took himself out of the running or even the Mets decided against him, because at 66 years old, Melvin is going to, if he took the GM job, it wouldn't be for that long. I couldn't see him doing it past the age of 70 or 71, so at most, at 66, he would have 5 years on the job, it's good. He could do a rebuilding program over that time, but there may not be time for a long-term vision to come out. He would be there. He would be taking over Sandy Alderson's team. He would be judged based on Sandy Alderson's team. And as we've seen in the beginning of Sandy Alderson's regime, many of the moves he got credited for came under Omar Minayer's regime. So it was going to be lack of continuity. I can understand why the Mets might have been a little hesitant about it. He was in semi-retirement. He seemed like he wanted the job. But I could also see why the Mets wanted to go younger with a general manager. So that leaves the two more choices left, Van Wagenen and Chaim. And both are very qualified baseball men. They're both very respected around baseball, but they come from two very different backgrounds. The more traditional approach would be hire Chaim. He's young at 35 years old. He represents the new age of general managers. He's heavily into analytics. He's built or was the right-hand man down in Tampa Bay, which won 90 games this year, even though they sold off some talent and they had a lack of talent on the team. He knows how to build a team from, with very little resources. And, coming to New York, he might be appealing to the Wilpons because he can find a bargain, much like the way Sandy Alderson did. Then you had Van Wagenen, who they have a great relationship with, about 6 or 7 players on the team, including deGrom, Syndergaard, and Cespedes, use him as their agent. So obviously over the years, Jeff Wilpon has gotten a very comfortable relationship with him. This won't be the first agent to move over to the other side. Jeff Morad did it about 20 years ago. 15 years ago when he was with the Arizona Diamondbacks and ran that team, and then he became part of the ownership team of the San Diego Padres. So it makes sense for him to, if Van Wagenen comes, he would be actually coming into the team, probably not blowing it up, probably keeping his parts because he knows his players there. Bloom, on the other hand, if he comes in, he may actually do more of a rebuild because there may be players that don't fit into the analytical mold that, Sandy Alderson wanted, but he doesn't like. So there may be a lot more radical changes. You also may see more baseball men such as J.P. Ricciardi and Omar Minaya and John Ricco stay with the club and under Van Wagenen. So there might be more of a continuity as opposed to Chaim, who may bring in a whole new set of operations. He will be expanding the analytics department. This is not to say Van Wagenen won't do the same thing. But and I have no other information except a guess and just seeing the backgrounds of the two men. If Van Wagenen gets the job, it may signal that the Wilpots are willing to buy more or expand the payroll more than if Chaim Bloom comes in. And the reason why is because Van Wagenen has relationships with other agents, has relationships with players, knows how to negotiate contracts. This would be the priority of the club, at least this particular offseason, as he gets a hold of the information. Whereas Chaim Bloom may not be as quick to sign some high-priced free agents. He may take a wait-approach look with the Mets and maybe sign a little bit more bargain-type, analytical type of guys. So you have these two guys out there. We're probably going to get a decision if it's like last year, and this is the exact same time that the decision on Mickey Callaway came last year. You're going to probably see a leak, and maybe a leak on Sunday and an announcement on Monday with a press conference sometime Monday, since it's a day off of the World Series and Major League Baseball allows major announcements like that during the days off on the World Series. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what direction we're going to be taking. If I am a betting man, I'm going to say my gut is saying Van Wagenen, even though others are saying it's going to be Chaim Bloom. I'm guessing flip a coin because it could be either way. I don't have a feel because 2 days ago, to a man, everyone said, it's Doug Melvin's job to lose. Well, he lost the job, and now you have these two guys. So let's see what happens with that. We haven't really been covering it heavily because we have been covering baseball's World Series the last few days. Rich Mancuso, our managing editor, and myself went up to Boston along with Neil Miller, our photographer, and we covered Fenway Park the first 2 days, and a rainy Fenway Park on Tuesday, and Wednesday a cold Fenway Park, crowded to the hilt. But we saw the Boston Red Sox show the world why they won 108 games this year, pretty much dismantling the Dodgers over the first 2 games. You saw that offense, and that offense goes out, and they do not hit home runs, or do not hit a lot of home runs. They hit one single, they steal a base, a guy sacrifices himself, hits it to the left side, moves a guy over to third, sacrifice fly, you get a run. They manufacture runs. This is the way baseball was supposed to be played until the analytics guys get in and say, well, home runs are much more valuable than base hits. Well, we're seeing with the Red Sox is that base hits are actually easier to get than home runs. And if you put 3 or 4 of them together, you get the same thing. So the series now turns to Los Angeles for the next 3 games. Unfortunately, we won't be out there, but we will be back for Game 6 and 7 to cover it up in Boston. But we are not going to L.A. What we're going to be seeing is that the Dodgers need to turn around their fortunes. The Dodgers need to start doing the same things, hitting with runners in scoring position, hitting behind the runners, trying to move them over, trying to manufacture runs. It's the only way they're going to be able to win this series. Rick Porcello on the mound tonight for the Red Sox, and he's been iffy this postseason. Nathan Eovaldi is the scheduled starter for tomorrow, but you don't know. He may not start. They might bring in Chris Sale on short rest because they've used Eovaldi the first 2 games as a reliever. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to evolve out. It's going to be a rather short series if the Red Sox win tonight, I can tell you that. It's probably not going to go back to Boston if the Red Sox win tonight. I can't see how they're going to lose 2 in a row here. So the Dodgers really have their backs against the wall. They're going to have to win tonight and try to win one of the other 2 games. But tonight is their season. If they lose it, there's no way I can see the Dodgers coming back but 0-3 deficit. It just is not going to work. So it's going to be interesting. That's all I can say. It's going to be what's going to happen also with the ballpark factor. Fenway Park is always a very tough place to play. It was filled to the hilt and standing, and they're on top of the players, and they really rubbed it in, especially in the bullpen. The Dodgers complained. Cuddy was complaining about how they're being treated by the fans, even though the bullpens have been there forever. The bullpens have been there since the mid-'60s. They haven't changed whether the placement of the bullpens, but still, they've complained about it. So we're going to have to see if the Dodgers, have a home field advantage going out there. That's the opposite, though, of Fenway Park, because historically, Dodger fans are very laid back. George Carlin used to joke about him. He said they arrive in the third inning, they leave in the seventh inning, and they need something to have baseball explained to them. They need a radio in the ear. Well, some of the Dodgers were complaining about that, about how their fans aren't into it. It's more of a show for them. They're not really big baseball fans out there. So, let's see if they can use that to an advantage, because maybe the dead weight, it will also hurt the Red Sox, who have had the home crowd spurring them on, whereas the Dodgers are used to playing in that atmosphere out in Chavez Ravine. So that's going to be our report for today. We're going to be coming back to you the next couple of days with different reports especially if the Mets name a general manager, and what's going on in the World Series and anything else in baseball. So this is Joe McDonald signing off for Pro Baseball Central, and we'll be back with you as soon as probably tomorrow, with an update on the World Series and maybe even more on the Mets general manager search. So talk to you guys soon.